We're still months away from learning the decision of the appeals court ruling on TikTok's fate in the U.S. They heard arguments in the last 24 hours on the ban. TikTok's Chinese parent company, ByteDance, says the government has not shown TikTok poses a national security risk, and a ban would violate the First Amendment. If the appeal doesn't go through, they would have a month to divest. Joining us this morning to discuss this further is our 9 News legal expert, Whitty Traylor. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
This is really interesting. It's been a major topic for several years. There's a lot of back and forth on it, so bring us up to date.
Oh, there's been so much to it, and it started with former President Trump actually signed an executive order banning it, essentially saying to TikTok, ByteDance, you need to either sell it to a U.S. company or it's going to be banned. That was later rescinded by the courts. They lost in court. And now we have a new law that Congress passed essentially saying the same thing. So ByteDance has till January 19th to sell, or it's going to be banned. And the law says that Google and Apple will have to ban it from their devices.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So
I got you.
I'm getting there, everybody. So they filed in court, and now it's at the Court of Appeals for the U.S. District Court in D.C.
Yeah.
And so they're going to decide, and they're asking them to decide quickly so that they can figure this all out before the January 19th date.
And this has been backed by so many people since, within the government, and then even like states individually have had like an issue with TikTok as well.
Yeah, there's been a number of states who have sued and number of states who have banned it on their devices. And so there's been a lot of litigation around this. And it's really kind of, TikTok's argument is that, hey, this is a First Amendment violation because you're prohibiting our speech and other speech. And they're claiming a Fifth Amendment takings clause saying, hey, you're taking our private property for improper uses. So that's the argument on that side. The government is saying, well, China is an adversary. This is owned by China. And their concern is twofold. They're saying, one, you can influence Americans, because there's 170 million Americans on this, which is more than half the country, which is crazy. And so they're saying, hey, you can influence us with pro-China messages and anti-US messages, and they can collect the data. So they're saying it's a security breach, and therefore that justifies that sort of First Amendment infringement.
And it's so interesting because you see what TikTok puts out to, Chinese users and what they put out to American users. It's very different on how they're kind of influencing the country. Is this enforceable? Do you think that they will be able to actually take this off people's phones?
I don't know. That's a great question. It's hard to say. I think there may ultimately be a settlement because when they were close in negotiations in terms of Oracle was actually going to take over. And so I could see that still happening because they're asking this appeals court, to make a decision within the next month or two, and then that will give them time to appeal to the Supreme Court, and then they'll be able to decide before that January 19th date. Because this is a really interesting legal issue, and it's really important for us as far as the precedent sense, because then is every foreign company going to be banned? And the response is, well, China's our adversary, because TikTok pointed to Spotify, for example, which I love Spotify, and they're owned by a Swedish company, and then a number of other, Politico and others are owned by German companies. So they're saying, hey, this will set a precedent that if you're a foreign company, you don't have the same rights.
So if it was owned by Switzerland, we'd be fine.
Right,
but because it's owned by China.
Right.
Very interesting. Well, we'll see what happens next with all this. We appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, maybe back in December.
Yeah, right. Briefing everyone on it for sure. All right, let's get a check of the forecast with Chris.